Welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about this one. So this is Intuition at Work. Trust Your Gut to Get Ahead in Business and in Life by Melanie Barnum. I think so you're supposed to say that last name. So this book goes over the basics of how to use your intuition and just kind of what is it, and talks a little bit about the clairs and stuff like that. It also goes into some of the specifics of how to utilize your intuition just as a whole, and then of course a little bit into business. It did feel like it was kind of a specific type of field. It didn't feel like it was going to be applicable to everyone, but to some people definitely would be helpful. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 star. To be honest, this book just was not for me. First of all, the mentality towards it just does not work for my job. As an author primarily, this is not a method that's gonna work terribly well. Because yeah, I'm gonna use my intuition, but I also, hello, office kitty cat towel. I use my intuition differently. I don't need to necessarily use it in the way this author is talking about. I, at this point, don't really care to intuit what it means when I shake hands with somebody, because that's not something that's gonna be a part of my life. I don't view my readers as clients. It's just not stuff that I worry about. And the marketing things, which is not that helpful as, again, an author, it's just not a field that's gonna be helpful. Other reviews noticed this as well. There was one that I read that the person is an RN and registered nurse, and this book is really not that helpful for them either in their career. So it's it's only a specific type of job. And honestly, it kind of feels like it would be good for opening a witch shop or a new age shop, or just being a reader of some kind. That's the work that she's talking about. It's really not for any other field. Ish. You could probably glean from it what you could and apply it to your field. Personally, there's very much nothing really for me. Again, as an author, it doesn't really apply. And again, the RN also noted that it didn't really apply. And it also felt like the author went on really random tangents throughout the book. But again, if you are in the field with what the author's trying to get at, and you're kind of new to intuition, maybe, but also it doesn't really explain intuition that well, and how to enhance your own. I think there's better books on that. I think there was one, I want to say it was Ted Andrews, but it was how to enhance your psychic awareness or something like that. And that book was better than this. There's a lot of better options of how to get your intuition higher, but really it wasn't that helpful as a whole anyways. There's very little of where you would be using your intuition at work for this. And there was one example that she gave that was just so stupid. So one of the examples was, the situation was very similar to one I had experienced, and I was like, holy shit, whoa. The author is talking about how there was this person that was doing the work of 3 people and was giving it their all. And was the example was that they have to wear t-shirts even in the middle of winter because they're working so hard and they're just stressed out. And if you don't know, when you're stressed, you just are constantly warm. And so I'm just sitting there hell yeah, yep, all of the above, yes. And got pulled into their office by their boss and was you just don't seem to want to work here. And I was oh my God, that's why I got fired. I get it. Totally, yeah, because sure, nobody actually wants to work for anyone else. Yeah, I don't really want to work here. I'm doing the work of 3 people for the pay of barely 1. And you, meanwhile, you could, it's a tangent of but you own 2 houses, expensive cars, a boat. You just decided to do a vacation for funsies over the weekend to go to a beach, and so you flew across the country for that. Meanwhile, you can't afford to pay for health insurance for us or paid time off. Yeah, I don't really want to work here. I need a paycheck. That's why I'm here. And this book was going down that same path, but instead of firing them, it was a final warning kind of a deal. And then the advice was to suck up further to your boss. and to send them love and to just work even harder, even though you've been giving your 100% doing the work of 3 people, just do that more and pretend that you love your job and just like learn to like it. And that was the message. And they're like, oh my God, I tried that. And like, then my boss was like nice to me and like kind of noticed that I'm doing all this work for them for the price of one. And it's like, that's a great message. Really, truly fantastic message to give everybody, right? And I'm like, yeah, you kind of really lost me on that one because that's awful. No, like, just don't encourage bosses to do that. So I didn't like that. I asked my husband about it. He agreed. It was really bad. So needless to say, this just wasn't my kind of a book. I just didn't get anything good from it. But I think that other people potentially could. So I would say the recommended audience for this book is like, you need to have like an intermediate-ish understanding of intuition before you jump into it, because it just kind of summarizes things and just like briefly talks about it. Doesn't give you a lot of tools to actually utilize and like learn to enhance your own intuition at all. Again, better books out there for that. And again, it needs to be for a job kind of setup where you are like having your small little business, where you're worried about clients and you're worried about marketing and you're like, you have to interview people to work for you. Cause like, again, as an author, I'm not gonna have employees. It's me, myself, and I. Like, I might contract out certain things like cover design, but that's about it. Like, and like maybe have somebody help me to market because I'm not great at that. But like, there's not a lot that would be applicable to my life. And again, I don't view my readers as clients. That just is not something that really exists in like the author community. That feels kind of icky because we're like, I don't know, because half the time we're the same people. Like, most authors are gonna be avid readers as well, so it feels weird to be like, oh, my clients. Like, it rubs off the wrong way. And like, the RN in her review mentioned how it's like, I'm never gonna market. Like, that's just not what I do. And also, like, you're an RN, like, you're needed all the time. That you don't need to market for you to exist. Like, I happily will come to you because like, you will keep me alive and make sure that the doctors aren't trying to kill us. Like, mad respect for the nurses. They're usually working so much harder than the doctors. But like, you know, there's only a few kinds of jobs that I feel like would be applicable to this book. Again, it's going to be like small biz, like in like a witchcraft sense, or being like a reader or something like that. And it's a very specific audience. You're just going to have to see if it's like the type of work for you, but most jobs typically aren't going to apply to this book. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.